Close your eyes and settle into complete comfort. Tonight, we're going to explore something that millions of people resolve to use more often at the start of each new year. Something found in nearly every gym. Something that sits in spare bedrooms and basements, sometimes used, sometimes serving as an expensive clothes rack. Tonight, we'll journey through the surprising, sometimes dark, always fascinating history of the treadmill. Let your breathing slow and deepen. There's nowhere to go. Nothing you need to do. Just rest here and listen as we walk through time, or rather, walk in place through time, because that's what the treadmill is. Movement without going anywhere, walking or running while staying in the same spot. Picture a modern treadmill, sleek, black and silver, a belt moving endlessly over rollers, a control panel with buttons and it's green. Speed settings, incline adjustments, pre-programmed workouts, maybe a tablet holder, cup holders, a safety key attached to your clothes that stops the belt if you fall. You step onto the stationary platforms on either side. Press the start button. The belt begins to move. Slowly at first, you step on, begin walking, increase the speed. Walking becomes jogging. Jogging becomes running, your feet striking the belt moving beneath you. You're moving but not moving. Running but not going anywhere. It's strange when you think about it. Profoundly strange. You're expending energy. Your heart rate is increasing. You're breathing harder, sweating. Your body thinks it's traveling. Your muscles are working exactly as if you were running down a road. But you're staying in exactly the same place, not traveling at all, movement and stasis combined. Let your jaw relax. Let your shoulders drop. Let your whole body sink deeper into stillness. The opposite of the treadmill's endless motion, complete rest, complete peace. The modern treadmill is sophisticated technology. Motors powerful enough to move a belt smoothly under your weight. Speed controls precise to 1/10 of a mile per hour. Incline mechanisms that can raise the front of the deck to simulate hills. Cushioning systems that reduce impact on your joints. Computer programs that vary speed and incline to simulate courses, to keep you engaged, to make the experience less monotonous. Because monotony is the treadmill's great weakness. Its inherent flaw. You're moving, but your environment isn't changing. The same wall, the same ceiling, the same view. Minute after minute, mile after mile. Your body is engaged, but your mind has nothing new to process. No variation, no scenery. Just the endless belt moving beneath you. People try to solve this. Gyms put treadmills in front of windows. Give you something to look at. The street outside, other buildings, the weather. Something. Anything. Better than a blank wall, or they put televisions in front of treadmills. Screens built into the machine. Itself now you can watch shows, movies, the news, anything to distract from the monotony. To make the time pass faster, to fool your mind into forgetting that you're going nowhere. Some people listen to music, podcasts, audiobooks, anything to occupy the mind while the body works. Because the body can run for much longer than the mind can tolerate boredom. Physical capacity exceeds mental endurance. The body willing, but the mind giving up. I can't do this anymore. Not because of fatigue, because of tedium. The treadmill has a nickname in running communities. The Dreadmill. A combination of dread and treadmill. Because even dedicated runners dislike it. Even people who love running outdoors, who feel alive and free when running through neighborhoods or parks, or trails. Even they dread the treadmill. It's not the same. Something essential is lost. Some quality that makes running joyful becomes merely mechanical on the treadmill, but the treadmill persists, thrives even. Billions of dollars in treadmill sales. Every year, millions of people using them. Why? What's the appeal? Convenience. Weather doesn't matter. Too hot, too cold, raining, snowing, windy. Doesn't matter. The treadmill is always the same. Climate controlled, safe, no cars, no dogs. No uneven pavement, no getting lost. You can stop anytime, just press a button. The belt stops. You step off. Done control. You set exactly the pace you want. Exactly the incline, the treadmill maintains it perfectly. No hills you didn't choose, no wind resistance, no distractions. Complete control over every variable. Privacy. Some people don't like running in public, feel self-conscious. Judge themselves or imagine others judging them. The treadmill in your home or in a gym, you can run without being watched. Or you're watched, but everyone else is focused on their own workout, their own struggle, not judging you. Measurability. The treadmill tells you everything. Distance, time, speed, calories burned, approximately. Heart rate if you're holding the ice. Sensors. Every metric quantified. Progress visible. This appeals to people who like data, who want to track, who want to know exactly what they accomplished. Breathe in control. Breathe out letting go. Tonight you don't need to control anything, don't need to measure anything, can just be, can just rest, can just sink into the unmeasured, uncontrolled peace of sleep. But the modern treadmill, with its comfort and convenience and technology, is very far removed from where this machine began. Because the treadmill wasn't invented for fitness, wasn't created for health or wellness or New Year's resolutions. The treadmill was invented as punishment, as a torture device, as a way to extract labor from prisoners while breaking their spirits. The machine you voluntarily pay money to use was designed to crush the will of captive human beings. That's where our story really begins. Not in a gym, not in a fitness revolution, but in a prison, in 1818, in England, with a man who thought he could reform criminals through exhaustion and suffering. Let's go back. Let's understand how something designed to punish became something people pursue. How the everlasting staircase became the treadmill. How punishment became exercise. Let yourself drift back through time. Through the 200 years between now and then, let the modern world fade, let technology fade, let voluntary fitness fade. We're going to a darker time, a harder time. But don't worry. You're just listening, just resting, just letting these words carry you towards sleep. The year is 1818, England. The Industrial Revolution is transforming the country. Factories are rising, cities are growing. And with urbanization comes crime, poverty, desperation. The prisons are full, overflowing. Too many criminals, too few, in ways to deal with them. Execution was common for serious crimes. Theft above a certain value, forgery. Many offenses carried the death penalty. But even England couldn't execute everyone. There weren't enough gallows, weren't enough executioners. And public opinion was shifting. Questions about whether death was appropriate for property crimes. Transportation was another option, sending criminals to colonies, Australia, America, before the revolution. But space was limited, ships were expensive, and the colonies didn't always want England's criminals, so prisons filled, men, women, children, locked up, crowded into cells, surviving on minimal food. Minimal hygiene. Disease was rampant, mortality was high, prisons were places where people were stored until they could be dealt with, or until they died. Often the same thing, but there was a movement. Prison reform. Reformers believed criminals could be changed, rehabilitated, made into productive citizens. This required work, labor, teach prisoners a trade, give them discipline, structure. Show them the value of honest work, then release them and they'd be reformed, civilized, no longer criminal. This sounds almost humane, almost enlightened. And, in some ways, compared to pure punishment, it was. But the implementation was often cruel, often brutal, because the work wasn't meant to be pleasant, was meant to be punishment and reformation combined, suffering as pedagogy. Break you down to build you back up. Enter William Cubitt, an English engineer, civil engineer specifically. He built bridges, designed drainage systems, solved practical problems with practical solutions, and he looked at the prison problem and saw an engineering challenge. Prisoners needed work, needed to labor. But what work? In the city there wasn't much, no fields to plow, no crops to harvest. Prison workshops existed but couldn't employ everyone, and prison labor competed with free labor, taking jobs from law-abiding citizens, creating resentment. Cubitt thought, what if the work was pointless? What if prisoners labored but produced nothing, just expended energy, just suffered, just exhausted themselves? This would punish them, would keep them busy, would tire them out, so they couldn't cause trouble, and wouldn't compete with any industry, Wouldn't take anyone's job. He invented the treadmill. Or rather, adapted the concept. Treadmills existed already, for animals. Horses or oxen would walk on a rotating platform. Their movement would turn gears, grind grain, pump water, transfer animal energy into useful work. Cubitt took this concept and applied it to humans. His design was a large wheel, a cylinder, with steps attached to its outer surface. 24 steps typically, each step about 8 inches high. The wheel was mounted horizontally on an axle. As people stepped on the steps, walking upward, their weight made the wheel rotate. The steps descended. More steps appeared, endlessly. You climbed, but never got higher. Walked up an infinite staircase going nowhere, hence the nickname, the everlasting staircase, or the endless staircase. Perfectly descriptive, perfectly horrifying. Let your breathing be steady, unchanging. Unlike the prisoners climbing, never reaching anywhere. Just let your breath move easily, effortlessly. No labor required, just natural, just peaceful. The treadmill. Wheel was large, 20 feet in diameter often. Multiple people could stand on it at once, 6, 8, 10 people. All stepping, all climbing, all keeping the wheel rotating through their collective effort. The steps moved beneath them, like an escalator in reverse, like stairs descending as you climbed. Forward motion required constant effort. Stop and you'd be carried backward. Stumble and you could fall, be dragged under the wheel, injured, killed. Potentially, handrails were installed. Prisoners held on as they climbed, for stability, for safety, but also to prevent escape, to keep them in position. The treadmill was often installed in a shaft, a narrow vertical space, the wheel rotating in the shaft. Prisoners climbing in their designated spot, partitions between them so they couldn't talk, couldn't coordinate, couldn't plan escapes or rebellions, just individual isolation even while laboring together. The experience was brutal. Imagine climbing stairs continuously, not jogging upstairs, not running, just climbing, step after step, after step, for minutes, for hours, never stopping, never resting, your legs burning, your lungs burning. Sweat pouring, heart pounding, muscles screaming. But you can't stop. If you stop, you fall. And falling means injury, means punishment, means maybe death. Cubitt's first treadmill was installed at Brixton Prison in London in 1818. It was presented as humane, as progressive, as reform. Prisoners were working, learning discipline, learning the value of labor. This would transform them, redeem them, make them better people. The reality was torture. Prisoners were sentenced to the treadmill as punishment. Hours per day. The typical sentence was 6 hours, but not continuous. That would kill people. Instead, intervals. Climb for 15 minutes, rest for 5, repeat, hour after hour. 6 hours of actual climbing spread over a longer shift. Maybe 8 or 9 hours total. 15 minutes doesn't sound like much. But 15 minutes of constant stair climbing? Try it. Find a staircase. Climb for 15 minutes without stopping. See how you feel. Now imagine doing that 12 times in a shift, 72 times per week if you're sentenced to 6 days of treadmill. Your body breaking down, muscles failing, joints aching, feet blistered, hands torn from gripping the handrail. And what was this labor producing? Sometimes nothing. The wheel just turned. Resistance applied by friction, by a brake. The prisoner's effort converted entirely to heat. Wasted, pointless, punishment for punishment's sake. Sometimes the wheel powered machinery, grinding corn, pumping water, generating power for prison workshops. This made the punishment seem more legitimate, more purposeful. The prisoners weren't just suffering, they were contributing, paying their debt to society through labor. But the work was still designed to be harsh. The resistance was set high, higher than necessary for efficient grinding or pumping. The point was to exhaust the prisoners, to break them, not to maximize productivity. Prison authorities praised the treadmill, called it reformative, claimed prisoners emerged better disciplined, more respectful of authority, more willing to follow rules. This was true, in a sense. The treadmill did break spirits, did create compliance, but through trauma, through suffering, through the destruction. Of will, medical concerns were raised. Doctors observed prisoners, saw the toll. Heart problems, respiratory problems, joint damage, muscle injuries, malnutrition exacerbated by intense exercise. Prisoners already on inadequate diets being forced to expend enormous energy. Bodies breaking down. But the concerns were dismissed or minimized. Prison wasn't supposed to be comfortable. Criminals deserved punishment. If they suffered, that was appropriate. That was justice. The treadmill was working as intended. Let yourself feel grateful for rest, for stillness, for not having to climb, not having to labor, just lying here, just breathing, just being supported by whatever surface holds you. No effort required, no endless stairs, just peace. The treadmill spread. Other prisons adopted it. Throughout England, then to other countries, America, Australia, any place with English-influenced prison systems. The treadmill became standard, expected, a proven tool of punishment and control. Variations emerged. Some treadmills were smaller, individual units, one prisoner per wheel, isolating them further, making coordination impossible. Some were larger, more prisoners per wheel, more power generated, more utility extracted. The design was refined. Better bearings to make rotation smoother. Better partitions to ensure isolation. Better restraints to prevent escape. Engineers improving the machine, making it more efficient, more reliable, more effective at its purpose, which was suffering. Prisoners had no choice. Sentencing to treadmill labor was part of their punishment, part of their sentence. They climbed or faced additional penalties, solitary confinement, reduced rations, physical punishment, the threat always present. Climb or worse awaits. Some prisoners couldn't do it, physically unable, too old, too weak. Too sick. They were often excused, given other work, but for the able-bodied, there was no escape, no exemption, just the endless staircase. Day after day, week after week, month after month. However long their sentence. The psychological impact was profound, the monotony, the pointlessness, the inability to stop, the loss of control, climbing and getting nowhere, never reaching the top, never achieving anything. Just effort and suffering and exhaustion. It broke people, left scars, trauma that lasted long after release. But society approved. The public supported it. Criminals deserved punishment. The harsher the better. Let them suffer. Let them learn. Let them emerge broken and compliant. That was justice. That was reform. This went on for decades. The treadmill as standard prison punishment. From 1818 into the late 1800s, 80 years, generations of prisoners, millions of hours of climbing, untold suffering, all in the name of reform, all in the name of justice. And then, slowly, it ended. Not because of compassion, not because of human rights, but because attitudes shifted, because the philosophy of punishment evolved, because the treadmill came to be seen not as reform, but as mere cruelty, not as useful, but as barbaric. We'll explore that shift, that transition, how the treadmill fell out of favor, how it was abolished, how it disappeared from prisons, but not from the world, because the idea persisted. The concept of walking in place, of climbing without ascending, of movement without travel, that idea would return, would be transformed, would become something people chose rather than something forced upon them. But first, rest. Let the horror of the punishment treadmill fade. Its history, its past. You're not there. Not climbing, not suffering, just here, just resting. Just safe and comfortable and still. Let sleep approach like the top of a real staircase. A place you can actually reach, a destination you can actually arrive at. And when you get there, you can rest, can stop, can be done. But you don't have to climb to get there. You can just drift, just sink. Just let sleep come to you instead of working toward it. That's the gift of real rest. No effort required. Just allowing. Just accepting. Just peace. By the mid-1800s, the treadmill was firmly established in English prisons. But society was changing. Ideas about punishment were evolving. The Victorian era brought new thinking about crime, criminals, and corrections. The Victorians were complex. On one hand, harsh moralists, strict, judgmental, quick to condemn, but on the other hand, increasingly concerned with social welfare, with reform, with the idea that society had responsibility for its members, even its criminal members. Prison reformers began to argue against the treadmill, not on humanitarian grounds initially. The argument wasn't, "This is cruel." The argument was, "This doesn't work." Prisoners weren't being reformed, weren't learning useful trades, weren't being prepared for productive life after release. They were just being broken, made bitter, made resentful, made worse, not better. Statistics supported this. Recidivism was high. Prisoners released after treadmill sentences often reoffended, often returned to prison. The treadmill wasn't preventing crime, wasn't creating better citizens, was just creating more damaged people who would commit more crimes. The economic argument also emerged. The treadmill was expensive, required infrastructure, required guards to supervise, required maintenance, and while it sometimes produced useful work, grinding corn, pumping water, it wasn't efficient. Regular mills using animal or water power produced more for less cost. Prison treadmill labor was net negative, cost more than it produced. So why continue? If it wasn't reforming criminals, if it wasn't preventing recidivism, if it wasn't economically beneficial, what was the point? Just cruelty? Just punishment? For its own sake, was that justice? Reformers argued no, argued that punishment should be purposeful, should aim at rehabilitation, should prepare prisoners for reintegration into society. The treadmill did none of these things. Therefore, it should be abolished. Let your body feel the relief of abolishment, of ending, of stopping something painful. Your muscles don't have to work, don't have to climb, can just relax, can just rest. That relief spreading through you, through every fiber, peace replacing effort. The arguments gained traction slowly, very slowly. Entrenched interests resisted. Prison wardens liked the treadmill. It kept prisoners exhausted, compliant, easy to manage. Guards didn't have to work as hard when prisoners were too tired to cause trouble. Conservative politicians and citizens resisted, believed in harsh punishment, believed criminals deserved suffering. Any reform seemed soft, weak, coddling criminals. This was unpopular, politically dangerous. But intellectuals, reformers, and some members of parliament persisted. They commissioned studies, gathered data, published reports, the evidence mounted. The treadmill wasn't achieving its stated goals. Wasn't reform, was just cruelty. Medical evidence helped. Doctors documented injuries, heart damage, joint problems, respiratory issues. Prisoners emerging from treadmill sentences permanently damaged. Unable to work, unable to support themselves, becoming burdens on society. The opposite of the intended outcome. The religious argument emerged too. Christianity taught redemption, forgiveness, transformation. How could the treadmill accomplish this? It broke people, made them bitter, made them hate society, hate authority, hate God even. This was the opposite of Christian reform, the opposite of salvation. Prisons began to phase out treadmills in the 1860s and 1870s. Not all at once. Gradually. Some prisons stopped using them, removed them, replaced them with other forms of labor. Prison workshops, agriculture. More productive, more useful, more skill-building work. By 1895, the treadmill was officially abolished in England. The Prisons Act of 1898 formally banned it. After 80 years, after countless prisoners, after untold suffering, it ended. Not because it was cruel exactly, but because it was ineffective, because it didn't achieve its purpose. The cruelty alone wasn't enough to end it. Only when combined with futility did reform become possible. In America, the treadmill never caught on as widely. Some prisons used them, but American corrections favored different systems: chain gangs, hard labor on roads and infrastructure, prison factories. The treadmill seemed too European, too specific, too limited. American punishment was more varied, more creative in its cruelty. By 1900, the punishment treadmill was essentially gone. A historical curiosity, a relic of a more brutal era. Prisons moved on, found other ways to punish, other ways to reform, other ways to manage prisoners. But the treadmill itself, the machine, the concept, that didn't disappear. Some treadmills were repurposed, used in factories for actual production. The mechanism was sound, the engineering was good, just the application to human punishment was wrong. Use it for something else, and it's just a machine, neutral, useful even. And the idea of human-powered rotation. That persisted in other contexts. Treadmills for animals continued. Farmers used them. Dogs or goats walking in large wheels to power butter churns or other farm equipment. This was normal, accepted. Animals working for humans. No one questioned this. The concept lay dormant for human use. For decades, nearly a century, the treadmill, as tool for humans, vanished from the Western world, became something forgotten, something historical, something that people read about and thought, how barbaric, how cruel. Thank goodness we're more civilized now. And yet, the machine would return, not as punishment, not as prison labor, but as choice, as exercise, as health, as something people would seek out, pay for, value. The same machine, the same endless climbing, the same going nowhere, but voluntary, chosen, desired. How did this happen? How did torture become fitness? How did punishment become exercise? That transformation is the heart of our story. The strange alchemy that turned the everlasting staircase into the treadmill at your gym, into the machine gathering dust in your basement, into the resolution you make every January 1st. The transformation didn't happen directly. The punishment? Treadmill didn't just become the exercise treadmill. There were intermediate steps, other uses, other contexts. The treadmill had to be reimagined, had to be seen differently, had to acquire new meaning before people would voluntarily use it. That reimagining happened in medicine, in cardiology specifically, in the 1950s. Doctors studying the heart needed a way to stress it, to make it work hard so they could measure its capacity, its function, its limits. They needed controlled exercise, measurable exercise, exercise that could happen in a lab, in a clinic, in a controlled environment. The treadmill was perfect, absolutely perfect. You could control the speed, control the incline, make exercise as easy or as hard as necessary, and the patient stayed in one place, right where the monitoring equipment was, right where the doctor could observe, right where help was available if something went wrong. The medical treadmill was born, not for punishment, for diagnosis, for understanding, for health. This was the first step in the transformation, the treadmill becoming associated with wellness rather than suffering, with helping rather than hurting, with care rather than punishment. Let yourself imagine transformation, something changing its nature, its meaning. What was once painful becoming neutral, becoming helpful, becoming good even. You can transform too, can change, can become. Rest is part of transformation. Rest is when change happens, when the body repairs, when the mind processes, when you become tomorrow's version of yourself. Rest now. Let the Victorian era fade. Let the arguments and reforms and abolishments recede into history. They matter, but you don't need to hold them. Don't need to remember them. Just let them be part of the flow, part of the story, part of the path from there to here. The treadmill has more stories to tell, more transformations, more ironies. But you can let them come gently, can let them wash over you, can listen with half attention or no attention, can drift as you listen, can sleep while the story continues. That's fine, that's perfect. That's exactly what these words are for. The 1950s, America, post-war prosperity. The suburbs are growing, cars are everywhere. Processed food is becoming common, sedentary lifestyles are becoming normal, and heart disease is rising, becoming the leading cause of death, an epidemic, a crisis. Doctors needed to understand heart disease better, needed ways to diagnose it, predict it, prevent it. The heart is a muscle, it needs exercise, needs stress. But how do you test heart function? How do you measure capacity? How do you see how the heart performs under strain? You need to make someone exercise, need to monitor them while they do, need to control the intensity, need to stop immediately if problems arise. You need a treadmill. Dr. Robert Bruce, a cardiologist at the University of Washington, developed what became known as the Bruce Protocol in 1963, a standardized treadmill test for cardiac fitness. The patient walks on the treadmill, starts at a slow pace, gentle incline. Every 3 minutes, the speed increases, the incline increases, making the exercise progressively harder. The patient is covered in sensors, EKG electrodes monitoring heart rhythm, blood pressure cuff measuring pressure, pulse, oximeter measuring oxygen, every metric tracked, every response measured. The patient exercises until exhausted, until they can't continue, or until something concerning appears: irregular heart rhythm, dangerous blood pressure, chest pain, signs of distress. This test became standard, became routine. Cardiologists everywhere used treadmills. Patients with heart concerns were sent for stress tests. Treadmill stress tests. The treadmill was now medical equipment, clinical, scientific, beneficial. The medical treadmill looked different from the punishment treadmill, sleeker, motorized. No one was climbing an endless staircase. They were walking on a moving belt, standing upright, moving naturally, still going nowhere, still walking in place. But the experience was fundamentally different, comfortable even. Well, not comfortable exactly. Exercise is never truly comfortable, but not torturous. Not designed to break you, designed to measure you, assess you, help you. The doctor was there to help, not to punish. The test ended when you needed it to, and you had agency, control, could stop if necessary. This was crucial for the treadmill's transformation. It had to become associated with medicine, with health, with caring. The punishment associations had to fade, had to be forgotten, had to be replaced with new meaning, and they were. By the 1960s, few people remembered the punishment treadmill. It was historical, Victorian, forgotten. When you said treadmill, in 1965, people thought of cardiac testing, of hospitals, of medical diagnosis, not of prisons, not of suffering. The motorized treadmill was key. The punishment treadmill was human-powered. Your effort rotated the wheel, made the stairs move. Stopped when you stopped. The medical treadmill had a motor, an electric motor. It ran on electricity. Set a speed and it maintained that speed. Your effort didn't power it. You just kept up with it, or failed to keep up. That failure was informative. Was data, was diagnostic motorization. Changed everything. Changed the purpose, changed the experience, changed the meaning. A motorized treadmill wasn't a wheel you climbed. Was a belt that moved beneath you. You responded to it rather than powered it. Partnership rather than struggle. Measurement rather than punishment. Let your breath be motorized, automatic. Your brainstem handles it. Sets the rhythm, maintains the pace. You don't have to power it, don't have to control it. Just let it happen. Just observe it happening. Just rest in the automatic, effortless breathing that sustains you. The medical treadmill also had safety features. Emergency stop buttons, handrails that detected grip and could trigger stops. Doctors monitoring continuously, ready to intervene, ready to help. This was the opposite of the punishment treadmill, where falling could mean injury or death, where help was absent, where suffering was the point. Patients didn't enjoy stress tests. The exercise was hard. The monitoring was uncomfortable. The anxiety about what the test might reveal was stressful, but they understood the purpose, the value. This was for their health, for their benefit. Not punishment, not cruelty, medicine. And here's the subtle psychological shift. If doctors use treadmills to test health, if cardiologists prescribe treadmill exercise as therapy, if the treadmill is associated with medical care, with wellness, with longevity, then the treadmill becomes positive, becomes something you might want, might seek out, might use voluntarily. This sounds strange, but it happened. It worked. The medical context sanitized the treadmill, gave it new meaning, new value, made it respectable, made it desirable even. By the late 1960s, treadmills were appearing outside hospitals, in research laboratories studying exercise physiology, in universities, in sports medicine clinics. The treadmill is a tool for understanding human performance, human capacity, human limits. Athletes use treadmills for testing, VO2 max tests, maximum oxygen uptake, a measure of cardiovascular fitness, aerobic capacity. Athletes ran on treadmills while breathing through masks, while wearing heart monitors, while being measured and quantified and assessed. This data helped training, helped performance, helped winning. The treadmill was becoming neutral, just a tool, a piece of equipment, useful for various purposes, no longer loaded with punishment associations, no longer dark, just available, ready to be used, ready to be reimagined yet again. And that reimagining was coming. Because in the 1960s, something else was happening. A fitness revolution, a cultural shift, an awareness that exercise mattered, that health was something you could pursue, that fitness was valuable, that moving your body was good for you. This seems obvious now. Of course exercise is healthy, of course you should move. But in the 1950s and early 60s, this wasn't common knowledge, wasn't cultural consensus. Exercise was for athletes, for young people, for the military, not for everyone, not for ordinary adults, not as something you did for health. That was about to change, dramatically. And the treadmill would be part of that change, would become a tool for the masses, for anyone, for everyone who wanted to be healthy, to be fit, to live longer, to feel better. But first, someone had to advocate for fitness, had to make the case, had to create the science, had to convince America that exercise mattered. That person was Dr. Kenneth Cooper, and his message was aerobics, and his impact would transform American culture, would create the fitness industry, would make the treadmill not just acceptable, but desirable. We'll explore that revolution next, the transformation from medical tool to fitness equipment, from clinical to consumer, from hospital to home. But for now, rest in the knowledge that the treadmill has been redeemed, has moved from punishment to help, from cruelty to care. That's progress, that's transformation. That's hope, and you're transforming too, from awake to asleep, from active mind to quiet mind, from day to night, from effort to ease. This transformation is natural, is happening now, is almost complete. Just let it finish. Let sleep come. Let rest embrace you. The treadmill's belt keeps moving, but you can stop, can be still, can rest completely. That's the gift you give yourself tonight. Complete, total, perfect rest. Kenneth Cooper was an Air Force physician in the 1960s. His job was keeping pilots and airmen healthy, fit for duty, ready for anything. And he noticed something troubling. Young men, supposedly in their prime, were unfit, out of shape. Unable to perform physically when needed, this bothered Cooper. These were military personnel, should be the fittest Americans. But they weren't. Many were overweight. Many had poor cardiovascular fitness. Many couldn't pass basic fitness tests. Something was wrong. Some fundamental failure in how Americans approached health and fitness. Cooper started researching, reading everything about exercise science, about cardiovascular health, about fitness. And he developed a thesis. The most important factor for health was aerobic fitness, the ability to take in and use oxygen efficiently, cardiovascular and respiratory capacity. This, more than strength or speed or flexibility, determined overall health, determined longevity. Aerobic literally means with oxygen. Aerobic exercise is exercise that uses oxygen, that increases breathing, that elevates heart rate sustainably. Running, swimming, cycling, walking at a brisk pace. These are aerobic exercises. They make you breathe harder, make your heart work harder, but not so hard that you can't continue. Not maximum effort, sustained moderate effort. Cooper quantified this, developed a point system. Different exercises earned different points based on intensity and duration. He calculated how many points you needed per week for fitness, for health, for reduced risk of heart disease and other conditions. This became his book, Aerobics, published in 1968. The book was revolutionary, became a massive bestseller, millions of copies sold, translated into dozens of languages. Cooper became famous, became an evangelist for fitness, traveled, spoke, convinced people that exercise mattered, that everyone, not just athletes, should exercise, should pursue aerobic fitness, should make it a priority. This message resonated. America in the late 1960s and 1970s was ready for it, ready for something positive, something healthy, something that gave people control over their health, control over their bodies, control over their futures. The counterculture was questioning everything, questioning authority, questioning tradition, questioning the medical establishment's focus on treating disease rather than preventing it. Cooper's message fit perfectly. You don't have to wait to get sick and then be treated. You can prevent sickness through fitness, through exercise, through taking responsibility for your own health. Women's liberation was rising, women questioning their roles, questioning limitations. Exercise, fitness, physical capability, these were empowering. Women could be strong, could be fit, could be athletes. Cooper's message was for everyone. Gender didn't matter, age didn't matter. Exercise was universal, available to all. Let your body feel strong even in rest. Feel capable even in stillness. Feel powerful even while completely relaxed. Strength doesn't require constant demonstration. Exists even when not expressed. Like your fitness level, whatever it is, exists even when you're sleeping. Part of you. Always there. Cooper's work legitimized exercise, made it scientific, evidence-based, measurable. This was important. Americans respect science, respect data, respect expertise. Cooper provided all of that. He wasn't a guru or a faddist. He was a doctor, a scientist, a researcher. His recommendations were backed by studies, by evidence, by rigorous research, and his point system made fitness achievable, made it concrete. You didn't have to be an athlete, didn't have to be competitive, didn't have to excel, just had to accumulate points, just had to exercise regularly, moderately, consistently. Anyone could do this. Anyone could be fit. The book included charts, fitness levels by age and gender, tests you could take, ways to measure your progress, ways to quantify improvement. This appealed to the American love of quantification, of measurement, of progress tracking. You could see yourself improving, could watch your fitness level rise, could feel proud of your progress. Cooper opened the Cooper Aerobics Center in Dallas in 1970, a clinic and research facility dedicated to aerobic fitness, to preventive medicine, to helping people get and stay healthy through exercise. The center offered fitness assessments, exercise prescriptions, education. It became a model. Other centers copied it. The fitness industry was being born, and the treadmill was central to this. Cooper used treadmills for fitness testing, for measuring aerobic capacity, for prescribing exercise. The treadmill, that medical tool, was now also a fitness tool, a way to achieve health, a way to earn aerobics points, a way to improve your life. Gyms started appearing, fitness centers, not just for bodybuilders or athletes, for everyone, for ordinary people pursuing health. And these gyms had treadmills, rows of them, because treadmills were perfect for aerobic exercise, controllable, measurable, safe, weatherproof. Anyone could use them. The treadmill was being democratized, no longer just for hospitals, no longer just for labs, now for anyone. Anyone who wanted to be healthy, who wanted to be fit, who wanted to live longer. The treadmill, that instrument of torture 150 years earlier, was now an instrument of wellness, of self-improvement, of longevity. The irony is profound. The same machine, the same endless walking, the same going nowhere, but the meaning completely inverted. What was forced was now chosen. What was punishment was now pursuit. What broke people was now building them. But Cooper didn't invent home treadmills, didn't create the consumer treadmill industry. That was someone else. An engineer who saw Cooper's book and saw an opportunity, saw a market, saw a way to bring the treadmill home, to make it not just available in gyms and clinics, but in your house, in your basement, convenient, always there, always ready. That engineer was William Cubitt, and his invention, the Pacemaster, would begin the home treadmill revolution, would start the transformation of spare bedrooms and basements everywhere. would create an industry worth billions, would make the treadmill ubiquitous, would make it the most common piece of exercise equipment in America. But Staub's story is for the next part of our journey. For now, rest in Cooper's achievement. He convinced America that fitness mattered. That exercise was for everyone. That health was something you pursued, not just something you hoped for. This was transformative. This changed lives, saved lives, made millions of people healthier, happier, longer lived. And whether you exercise or not, whether you use a treadmill or not, you're part of this legacy, part of this culture that values health. That sees fitness as positive. That understands that movement matters. This is Cooper's gift, his contribution, his revolution. And now, let revolution become stillness. Let fitness become rest. Let activity become sleep. Because health includes rest, includes sleep, includes recovery. You can't exercise all the time. You need balance, need restoration, need this peaceful rest, this complete relaxation, this surrender to sleep. The treadmill will still be there tomorrow. The gym will still be open. Your resolutions will still be waiting. But tonight, none of that matters. Tonight is for rest. Complete, uninterrupted, restorative rest. Let Cooper's message transform into a lullaby. Exercise is good. Health is important. Fitness matters, and so does sleep. So does rest. So does this moment of complete peace. All equally valuable, all equally necessary, all part of the whole picture of wellness. Sleep now. Rest deeply, and when you wake, you can move, can exercise, can pursue fitness. But for now, stillness, for now, peace, for now, sleep. William Staub was a mechanical engineer. Worked in New Jersey, designed industrial equipment, pumps, conveyor systems, machinery for factories, practical, functional devices that solved problems, made work easier, made processes more efficient. In 1968, he read Cooper's aerobics book, and like millions of others, he was convinced. Exercise mattered, fitness mattered. He should be exercising regularly, should be pursuing aerobic fitness, should be earning those points Cooper recommended. But there was a problem. Staub lived in New Jersey. The winters were cold, snowy, icy. Running outside was unpleasant, often impossible, dangerous even. And Staub wasn't young, was in his 50s, not inclined to risk injury by running on ice, but still wanted to exercise. Still wanted to follow Cooper's recommendations. Gyms existed but weren't common yet, not convenient, not nearby. Staub would have to drive somewhere, pay membership fees, exercise on someone else's schedule. This wasn't ideal. He wanted convenience. Wanted control, wanted to exercise at home, on his schedule, in comfort. He thought, what if I had a treadmill at home? Medical treadmills existed, he'd seen them. But they were medical equipment, industrial, expensive, designed for hospitals, not for homes, not for consumers, not for ordinary people. But Staub was an engineer. He could design things, could build things, could solve problems. If a home treadmill didn't exist, he could create one, could design it, could make it real. He started sketching, thinking about requirements. What would a home treadmill need? Had to be safe, had to be reliable, had to be compact enough to fit in a home, had to be affordable enough for consumers to buy, had to be quiet enough not to disturb family, had to be maintainable, durable, long-lasting. The motor was the biggest challenge. Medical treadmills used large industrial motors, heavy, expensive, loud, designed for constant use in clinical settings. A home treadmill didn't need that much power, didn't need to run constantly, could use a smaller, cheaper motor, but it still had to be powerful enough to move the belt smoothly, reliably, without straining or overheating. Staub sourced motors, tested them, found one that worked. A fractional horsepower motor, efficient, quiet enough, powerful enough, affordable. He designed a pulley system. The motor drove a pulley that drove the belt. Simple mechanics. Reliable, proven. The belt was next. What material? Medical treadmills used rubber belts. Heavy, durable, expensive. Staub-tested alternatives. Synthetic materials. Rubberized fabrics. Something durable but lighter. Cheaper. Easier to replace if needed. He built prototypes, tested them, walked on them, ran on them, adjusted designs, refined mechanisms, improved durability, reduced noise, increased smoothness, iteration after iteration. The engineer's process. Try. Fail. Learn. Improve. Try again. By 1969, he had a working design. A treadmill suitable for home use, compact, relatively quiet, reliable, affordable. He called it the Pacemaster 600, and he started manufacturing them. Manufacturing was a challenge. Staub didn't have a factory, didn't have investors, didn't have distribution channels. He was one man with a design. He built them himself initially, in his workshop, one at a time, selling them locally, word of mouth. Small advertisements. The response was positive. People wanted them, wanted the convenience of exercising at home, wanted to follow Cooper's program without going to a gym, wanted control over their fitness routine. The Pacemaster met that need. Staub expanded, hired workers, rented a larger space, increased production, advertised more widely. The Pacemaster started appearing in catalogs, in sporting goods stores. Orders increased. The home treadmill market was born. The price was significant. Around $1,000 initially. That's about $8,000 in 2025 dollars. Not cheap, not affordable for everyone. But for those who could afford it, who were serious about fitness, who valued convenience, it was worth it. Was an investment in health, in longevity, in quality of life. Let yourself imagine investing in rest the way people invest in fitness, spending time on sleep, spending attention on relaxation, valuing stillness as much as movement, both necessary, both valuable, both deserving of investment. Tonight, you're investing in rest, in sleep, in restoration. This is valuable time, important time, health-building time. The Pacemaster was simple by modern standards. No electronics beyond the motor, no displays, no programs, no sensors, just an on-off switch and a speed control. A knob you turned to adjust pace. That was it. No data, no metrics, no quantification. But it worked, served its purpose. Let you walk or jog indoors, year-round, regardless of weather. Regardless of time of day or night, whenever you wanted, however long you wanted. Convenience was the selling point. Freedom from external constraints. The design influenced everyone who followed. Staub's Pacemaster established the template. Motor-driven. Belt, compact frame, home-suitable size. Other manufacturers copied it. Improved it, added features. But the basic design, that was Staub's, his contribution, his legacy. Staub never became rich from the Pacemaster, never became famous. Other companies came to dominate the market, bigger companies, better funded companies. Companies with marketing budgets and distribution networks. Staub's company remained small, eventually sold, eventually absorbed into larger entities. His name mostly forgotten, but his impact was real. Was significant. He created the category, proved the market, showed that people would buy treadmills for home use, would pay significant money for the convenience of indoor exercise. This opened the floodgates. This created an industry. By the mid-1970s, multiple companies were manufacturing home treadmills. Proform, Nordic Track, Quinton, Precor, Lifestyle, each with their own designs, their own features, their own marketing, competing for customers, competing to innovate, to improve, to offer more value. The features multiplied: speed displays, digital readouts showing your pace, time displays, distance counters, calorie estimators, heart rate monitors, programmable workouts, incline adjustments. The treadmill was becoming computerized, becoming sophisticated, becoming data-rich. This appealed to the American love of quantification, of measurement, of progress tracking. You could see exactly how far you'd gone, how fast, how many calories you'd burned, approximately, how your heart rate responded, all the data, all the metrics, all the numbers. But the basic experience remained the same. You walked or ran in place. The belt moved beneath you. You went nowhere while moving continuously. The same as the punishment treadmill 150 years earlier. The same mechanism, the same motion, the same going nowhere. Except you chose it. paid for it, valued it, sought it out. That difference, that tiny difference of voluntary versus involuntary, that changed everything, made torture into exercise, made punishment into fitness, made suffering into self-improvement. The irony deepened. Gyms were charging membership fees. People were paying money to walk on treadmills, to climb stairs that went nowhere, to exercise in the exact way prisoners had been forced to exercise as punishment. And they were happy about it, felt good about it, felt virtuous for doing it. Staub surely recognized the irony. Being an educated man, a reader, someone who would know history, know about punishment treadmills, know about Victorian prisons. Did he think about that when designing the pacemaster? Did he find it strange, amusing, disturbing? We don't know. He never spoke publicly about the historical irony, never wrote about it. Maybe he didn't think about it. Maybe he separated the past from the present, the punishment from the fitness, the forced from the voluntary. Different contexts, different meanings, different purposes, or maybe he did think about it. Maybe he saw the deep irony, the transformation, the redemption of the treadmill from instrument of torture to instrument of wellness. Maybe he appreciated that inversion, that reclamation, that transformation of meaning. Either way, he made it possible, made the home treadmill real, made it available, made it the foundation of an industry that would grow to billions of dollars. That would influence millions of lives. That would change how people thought about exercise, about fitness, about health. And whether his treadmill made people healthier is actually unclear. Studies are mixed. Some suggest home exercise equipment goes unused, becomes clutter, becomes a clothes rack. A joke about New Year's resolutions. Intentions versus reality. Aspiration versus achievement. But some people do use them, do benefit from them, do exercise regularly, do improve their health. For those people, Staub's invention mattered, made a difference, extended their lives perhaps, improved their quality of life certainly, and even unused, even as a clothes rack, the treadmill represents something. Intention, aspiration, the belief that you could change, could improve, could be healthier. That belief, even unrealized, has value, hope has value, possibility has value. Let yourself rest in possibility, in potential. You could exercise tomorrow, could start a program, could pursue fitness. Or not, could rest instead, could choose stillness over movement. Either is fine, both are fine, all is fine, no judgment, no pressure, just rest, just peace, just sleep. The treadmill's history continues. More innovations, more features, more technology. But the core story is told. Punishment became medicine, became fitness, became consumer product. Forced became chosen. Suffering became aspiration. The everlasting staircase became the path to health. And you're on a different path tonight. The path to sleep, to rest, to restoration. This path doesn't require climbing, requires the opposite. Descending, sinking, letting go. Letting sleep overtake you. Letting consciousness fade. Letting rest be complete. Walk that path now, slowly, gently, no treadmill required, no belt moving beneath you. Just the gentle descent into peace, into darkness, into sleep. The 1970s and 1980s were transformative for American fitness culture. What Cooper started, what Staub commercialized, exploded into a cultural phenomenon. Fitness became mainstream, became aspirational, became part of the American identity. Multiple factors converged. The counterculture's emphasis on natural living, on body awareness, on holistic health. The women's movement empowering women to be strong, to be physical, to reject traditional limitations. The aging baby boomers realizing they weren't kids anymore, weren't immortal. Needed to take care of themselves, needed to exercise. Running became hugely popular. Not competitive running, not racing, just running for fitness, for health, for the joy of it. People who'd never considered themselves athletes started running, put on shoes, and went out the door. Ran around the block, then farther, then longer. The first New York City Marathon in 1970 had 127 runners. By 1980, it had over 14,000. That's exponential growth. That's a cultural shift. Running became democratic. Anyone could do it. any age, any size, any background. Just shoes and determination and a road or path or treadmill. The jogging craze, they called it. A bit dismissive, a bit condescending, but real, undeniable. Parks filled with joggers, sidewalks filled with runners, people huffing and puffing and sweating and moving, some athletic, some clearly struggling, but all moving, all trying, all participating, and they needed places to run indoors, needed equipment, gyms proliferated, health clubs, fitness centers, not the old-school bodybuilding gyms. Those still existed. But new kinds of facilities, clean, well-lit, co-ed, welcoming, places where ordinary people felt comfortable, where women felt safe, where beginners felt accepted. These gyms needed equipment, lots of equipment, enough for dozens or hundreds of members. And treadmills were essential, rows of them, facing windows ideally, or facing TVs. Something to look at, something to make the experience less boring. Treadmill technology improved rapidly through the 1980s. Better motors, smoother belts, better cushioning. The early home treadmills were rigid, your feet struck hard surface. Impact was jarring, bad for joints, especially for heavier people or people with existing injuries. Engineers developed cushioning systems. The deck, the surface the belt rides on, was made to have some give, some flex, some shock absorption. Springs under the deck, rubber mounts, foam layers, various approaches to the same problem. Make the treadmill easier on the body. Make it closer to grass or dirt running. Make it gentler than pavement. This was important for accessibility. If treadmills hurt, people wouldn't use them, would get injured, would quit, would go back to being sedentary. But with good cushioning, treadmills could be easier on your body than outdoor running, especially for older people, heavier people, people recovering from injuries. The incline feature became standard. Early treadmills were flat, but bodies adapt. Flat gets easy, boring. The incline function let you simulate hills, made the workout harder, more intense, more interesting. More like outdoor running where terrain varies. Initially, incline was manual. You stopped the belt, got off, adjusted a lever or pin, raised the front of the deck, got back on, resumed, running, inconvenient, interrupt-driven, but functional. Then came automatic incline. Electric motors that adjusted incline on the fly. Push a button, the deck rises or lowers, you keep running, no interruption, smooth transition. This was luxury. Was innovation. Was the future. Programmable workouts emerged in the late 1980s, early computerization. The treadmill would change speed and incline automatically, following a program, simulating hills, creating interval training, varying intensity. You just kept moving. The machine did the thinking. This addressed the boredom problem. The treadmill problem. Variation makes time pass faster, makes the experience more engaging, tricks your mind into not noticing the monotony, not consciously anyway. You're still going nowhere. Still on an endless belt, but the varying intensity creates the illusion of terrain, of progression, of journey, even though you're stationary. Let your mind create its own variations. Thoughts, rising and falling like inclines. Some steep, some gentle, but all leading downward toward sleep, toward rest, toward the bottom of the hill where stillness waits. Celebrity fitness culture exploded in the 1980s. Jane Fonda's workout videos, Richard Simmons, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Fitness became entertainment, became media, became aspiration. Having a fit body became desirable, became status, became something you displayed, something you were proud of. The aerobics classes, the leotards, the leg warmers, the headbands, the whole aesthetic of 1980s fitness, colorful, energetic, optimistic. Exercise became fun, became social, became fashion. This drew more people in, made fitness accessible, made it cool. Treadmills benefited from this, were part of this, the treadmill as status symbol. Having one at home meant you were serious, were committed, were investing in yourself, were modern, progressive, health-conscious. It said something about you, about your values, about your priorities. Home gyms became common in upper-middle-class homes. A room dedicated to fitness, treadmill, maybe a stationary bike, maybe weights. A TV to watch while exercising. The home gym as aspiration, as goal, as sign of having made it, of being successful enough to afford dedicated fitness space. Treadmill sales exploded, from thousands per year in the early 1970s to hundreds of thousands by the late 1980s. Multiple manufacturers competing, innovating, advertising. The industry worth hundreds of millions, growing exponentially. But still, many treadmills went unused, bought with good intentions, used briefly, then abandoned. The joke emerged, the treadmill as expensive clothes rack, as reminder of failed resolutions, as guilt-inducing presence. In the spare room, this pattern persists. Every January, treadmill sales spike, New Year's resolutions. This year will be different. This year I'll exercise regularly. This year I'll get fit. The treadmill purchased with hope, with determination, with genuine belief in change. And for some, it works. They do exercise regularly, do use the treadmill, do get fitter, do achieve their goals. For them, the purchase was worth it. The investment justified. The treadmill, a tool that helped. That mattered. That contributed to a healthier life. For others, the initial enthusiasm fades. The routine becomes boring. The effort becomes difficult. Life gets busy. Other priorities emerge. The treadmill gets used less. Then occasionally, then never. It sits, gathers dust, takes up space, becomes a monument to good intentions and insufficient. Follow through. This cycle is so common it's almost expected. The unused treadmill as cliché, as joke, as shared cultural experience. We laugh at ourselves, at our predictable patterns, at our eternal optimism that this time will be different. This time we'll stick with it. But the fact that we keep trying, it's beautiful in its way. We don't give up. Don't accept permanent sedentary life. Keep believing change is possible. Keep buying treadmills, keep making resolutions, keep hoping. That hope, even if often unrealized, matters, means something, says something about human nature, about our refusal to accept limitation, to accept stasis. The fitness industry understands this, relies on it. Membership fees for gyms that many members rarely attend. Equipment purchases that gather dust. The business model depends partly on good intentions and imperfect follow-through, on aspiration exceeding achievement. This sounds cynical, exploitative. And it is partly. But it's also enabling. The gym exists for when you do decide to go. The treadmill is there for when you do decide to use it. The possibility remains. The option available, that's valuable even if not always exercised, and some people do benefit. Do transform. Do become fitter, healthier, stronger. For every unused treadmill, there's a used one. For every abandoned gym membership, there's an active member. The system works for some even if not for all. By 1990, the treadmill was fully established in American culture. Common, accepted, understood, no longer novel. No longer requiring explanation. Just there. Part of the landscape, part of the infrastructure of fitness culture, part of the tools available for those who wanted to exercise. The industry continued innovating. Better displays, more programs. Heart rate monitors integrated into the handlebars, fans to cool you while running. Speakers for music, every feature imaginable. The treadmill becoming more sophisticated, more computerized, more data-rich, but also more complex. More things to break, more maintenance required, more troubleshooting. Early treadmills were simple. Motor, belt, deck, frame. That's it. New. Your treadmills had circuit boards, sensors, software. More capability, but also more vulnerability. Consumer Reports started reviewing treadmills, rating them, recommending some, warning against others. This helped consumers navigate the market, helped separate quality from junk, helped people make informed decisions, but also revealed how much variation existed, how much difference between cheap treadmills and expensive ones, between reliable brands and questionable ones. Price ranges widened. Cheap treadmills for a few $100s. Premium treadmills for several thousand. Commercial-grade treadmills for gyms costing $10,000 or more. The market segmented. Different products for different needs. Different budgets. Different expectations. The cheap treadmills often disappointed. weak motors that strained, belts that slipped, frames that wobbled. They worked but barely, for light use only, walking only. Certainly not serious running, but affordable, accessible, better than nothing. The premium treadmills were impressive, smooth, quiet, sturdy, reliable, multiple programs. Every feature built to last. Worth the investment if you used them regularly, if you were serious, if you had the money. Most people bought somewhere in the middle, decent quality without premium price. Adequate for regular home use, sufficient. For typical workouts, not fancy but functional. The sweet spot, the sensible choice. Breathe in adequacy. Breathe out perfectionism. You don't need the premium version of sleep. Don't need the perfect conditions. Just need to rest. Just need to let go. Just need to allow sleep to come as it comes. Adequate is enough. Sufficient is perfect. Why is treadmill running harder than outdoor running? Physically, it should be easier. No wind resistance, no terrain variation, controlled climate, perfect conditions. And yet, ask any runner. Treadmill running feels harder. Time passes slower. The same distance feels longer. The same pace feels more difficult. This is psychological, mental. The monotony is part of it. Outdoor running gives you scenery, changing views, things to look at. Your attention is naturally engaged. The environment provides stimulation. Treadmill running gives you nothing. The same wall, the same spot, no variation. Your mind has nothing, anew to process. Craves stimulation and receives none. Time perception changes. In the absence of external stimulation, time feels slower. A phenomenon called duration distortion. Without external markers of progress, this landmark, then that tree, then that building, you rely on internal time sense, which is unreliable, which makes minutes feel like hours. Runners develop strategies, music, podcasts, television, anything to occupy the mind, to provide the stimulation the environment can't, to trick your brain into forgetting you're on a treadmill, into forgetting you're going nowhere. Covering the display helps some people, not seeing time, not seeing distance, not watching minutes. Tick by slowly, just running, just being, just moving. When you don't know how long you've been running, time paradoxically passes faster. The watching makes it slower. The not knowing makes it bearable. Others do the opposite. Watch obsessively, check constantly. Every tenth of a mile acknowledged, every minute noted, using the data to push through. I've done 1.5 miles, only 0.5 to go. I can do 0.5 miles, just a little longer. Breaking the goal into smaller pieces, making it manageable. There's no wind. This seems like an advantage. And physically, it is. Wind resistance requires energy. Pushing against wind is work. The treadmill eliminates that. But psychologically, wind is feedback, is sensory input, is feeling. The air moving past you confirms you're moving. The treadmill gives you no such feedback. You're stepping, but air is still. You're running, but everything is stationary. Feels wrong, feels unnatural. Some treadmills have fans to create artificial wind, to provide that sensory feedback, to make the experience more natural. It helps, not completely, but measurably. The fan makes running feel more like running, less like mechanical motion, less like being a hamster in a wheel. The hamster wheel comparison is common and apt. The hamster, it runs and runs and goes nowhere. Seems content. Or maybe not content but compelled, unable to stop. The treadmill user is the same. Running but staying still. Moving but not traveling. The comparison is uncomfortable. Raises questions about choice, about freedom, about whether voluntary is truly different from involuntary if the outcome is the same. But the hamster has no choice. The human does. Can stop any time, can step off, can decide enough is enough. That agency matters. That choice transforms the experience, makes it fundamentally different, even if superficially similar. Treadmill meditation is a concept some people explore, using the monotony intentionally, as meditation, as practice in being present, in accepting boredom, in sitting with discomfort without needing to escape it or distract from it, just running, just breathing, just being. The mind wandering and returning. noticing thoughts without following them, pure mindfulness practice. This is advanced. Most people aren't there. Most people need distraction, need entertainment, need something to make the time pass. But for those who can embrace the monotony, who can find peace in repetition, the treadmill becomes something else, becomes a tool for mental training, for meditation, for being fully present in an activity that requires nothing but consistency. Let your mind find that state, not through running, through resting, through being present in stillness, through accepting the monotony of lying here, breathing here, being here, nothing changing, nothing varying, just this, just now, just breath after breath, moment after moment, finding peace in the unchanging, finding meditation in rest. The treadmill reveals our relationship with boredom, with discomfort, with difficulty. Some people tolerate it well, push through, don't need distraction, can suffer in relative peace. Others need constant stimulation, can't bear the monotony, need TV, music, anything. This isn't good or bad, just different. Different tolerance, different needs, different strategies. The mental game of distance running applies to treadmills doubly. Your body can almost always do more than your mind thinks it can. The limiting factor is usually mental. The "I can't go on" feeling arrives long before actual physical exhaustion. On a treadmill, this mental wall appears earlier, sooner, more insistently, because the environment provides no help, no inspiration, no distraction. Outdoor running gives you external motivation. I'll run to that tree, just to that tree, then I can walk. The tree provides a goal, makes the effort finite, manageable, achievable. Then you reach the tree and pick another goal. Just to that corner, that's all. And on it goes. Small goals. Continuous progress, the environment helping you continue. The treadmill offers none of this. No tree, no corner, no landmarks, just numbers on a display. 0.8 miles, 8.1 to 8.2. The numbers increment, but slowly, agonizingly slowly. The goal of 2 miles seems distant, impossible, unreachable, even though you've run 2 miles outdoors many times, easily even. The treadmill makes it harder, makes it feel farther, makes you doubt. This is why people quit treadmills. Not because they're not fit enough, not because the workout is too hard physically, because mentally, it's harder than outdoor running. The psychological challenge exceeds the physical one, and most people aren't prepared for that. Expect the treadmill to be easier, not harder, are surprised by the difficulty, are discouraged by it, quit. Understanding this helps. Knowing it's harder mentally prepares you. Lowers expectations, makes realistic goals. If you expect treadmill running to feel harder, it doesn't surprise you, doesn't discourage you. You accept it, work with it, find strategies to manage it, or you decide treadmills aren't for you. That outdoor running is better, that the trade-off of weather and safety for mental ease is worth it. That's valid too. Not everyone needs to love treadmills. Not everyone needs to use them. Other options exist. Walking outside, cycling, swimming, ellipticals, rowing machines, group classes. Find what works, what you'll actually do, what you'll sustain. The treadmill industry markets solutions to the psychology problem. Entertainment systems. Streaming classes, virtual routes where the treadmill adjusts to simulate terrain. You're running through Central Park or along a beach or through mountains. The screen shows the path. The treadmill adjusts incline, creates immersion. Makes you forget you're in your basement or gym. Does it work? Somewhat. Better than staring at a blank wall. Better than just watching the numbers increment. But still not the same as actually being there. Still not the same as outdoor running. Still going nowhere. Still on a belt. The fundamental reality. Unchanged. Just disguised better. Just made more bearable. Peloton's success with stationary bikes showed the potential. Live classes, leaderboards, community, competition, social pressure. All making the indoor cycling experience compelling, sticky, effective at keeping people engaged, making them show up, making them work hard. Treadmill companies tried to replicate this: treadmill classes, connected treadmills, leaderboards, competitive running, virtual races. Some success, but less than Peloton's bike achieved. Running is harder than cycling, less comfortable, more impact, more suffering, harder to sustain for an hour-long class. The model doesn't translate perfectly, but it helps some people. The social aspect, the commitment of signing up for a class, the instructor's encouragement, the virtual community. For some, this is enough, is the missing piece, is what makes treadmill running sustainable. For others, nothing helps. The treadmill remains the dreadmill, remains boring, remains hard, remains something endured, not enjoyed, and that's okay. You don't have to love every form of exercise. You don't have to make treadmills work if they don't work for you.